So, while looking at a finished product is always enjoyable, there's actually a lot more to it that goes on behind the scenes, and that's especially the case when it comes to Darklight. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting some facts in regards to the development and the design of what actually went into writing the series. The first thing I wanted to mention is that nearly all of the Darklight stories were ad-libbed. While it is a collaboration piece, meaning two people contributed to writing it, it isn't traditional in a sense that the characters and their experiences within the novels were limited to the authors who wrote them. For instance, one of my characters, Sam Hain, was written entirely by me. And my co-author, her characters were written entirely by her. It wasn't one of these sort of campfire stories where someone starts it and the other person finishes it. It was completely different style of writing. And because of this, almost all of the conversations and arguments that take place within the span of all four books are real and unscripted. And most of the time the plotline was too. Sometimes there was a little bit of discussion on the sidelines on how we wanted to do something, but for the most part we kind of came up with an idea of where we wanted to start, and then the rest of it just kind of took off and did its own thing. The entire series took about 6 months to complete. That's from Greenville High all the way down to Thunder Follows. However, because of its size, it took almost 3 full years to finally edit the whole thing. Before it was edited, the series was a single Word document containing over 1,500 pages. Chapters and titles were added during the editing process, and this took anywhere from 4 to 7 hours of reading a day per chapter. Sometimes this was done up to 4, maybe 5 days out of the week by a single editor, and it's the reason that sometimes I just cannot make that deadline. It may be hard to believe, but more than half of Darklight 3 and almost all of Darklight 4 were actually written over text messages sent from a cell phone. This is actually a pretty interesting story. There was a point in time where one of us ran into an issue with the internet, and we had no internet access for 2 to 3 months, and during that time, Darklight 3 was in development, and rather than just dropping it and not working on it for 3 months, my co-author actually used a smartphone to write a novel, and I still have no idea how she did that. Like, holy shit. That being said, Darklight 4, When Thunder Follows, was actually written more than half a year after From Death to Dawn, Darklight 3. The third book was actually supposed to mark the end of the series, that we weren't going to continue with that. It was going to be, they come back from Labyrinthia, and it's sort of this pseudo-happy ending, question mark. And after that, we moved on to something entirely different. We worked on that for about 2 months, and after the initial success of the new novel, we decided, hey, let's go back and work on Darklight again. Let's add another story to the series. Ironically, the character Adrian Gray was a direct result of this. He did not exist before Darklight 4. At least, not really. Funny enough, when working on the title for Darklight 4, which is now When Thunder Follows, which is actually an allusion to Dizra Drexel, but originally, we kind of batted around ideas for what the title would be, and one of the first titles that I posed was Shades of Grey. Now, because I live under a rock, I'd never heard of 50 Shades of Grey before, at least at that time, and thankfully my co-writer had, so, when I posed this, she was just like, no, and we dodged a bullet on that one. So, the fourth book was actually under development for several months, and believe it or not, the ending of When Thunder Follows, the one that's posted on our website, is not the original ending. The original ending was actually scrapped due to its fatalistic nature and the lack of resolution as a final installment to the series. This is the reason the PDF has not been released yet. Darklight 4 has 3 separate endings, and we decided that only one of those was going to be uploaded to the website. The PDF, however, will contain all 3 of them. Now, like I said before, given that it takes anywhere from 6 to 7 hours today to edit this beast, it's going to be a while. There's about 20 pages currently sitting on my desk right now taunting me, and that translates to about 3 weeks of straight work. So if you guys want missing pieces to exist for the next month, you're gonna have to bear with me on that. It is coming though, and I'll probably have that done by the holidays. Although, it should be noted that the original ending and the second alternative ending will be exclusive to the PDF. In other words, they're not going to appear on the website. If you want to read the original ending for Darklight 4, you're going to have to either view or download that from our download page, which can be accessed by clicking on the blue planet on the home page. And for those of you that don't like downloads, I have it done up so that all you have to do is click on that link and it'll actually just pull up a separate page and you can do what you want with it from there. I personally have issues with downloads anyway, so I did it that way just to make it easier for people. Anyway, interestingly enough, Darklight is actually one of 16 different novels that were written over the course of about 10 years. Unfortunately, again, due to the time constraints, most of these are probably never going to see the light of day, unless you guys want to read something that's basically post-by-post garbage, because the final product, it would blow your mind. Like, holy shit, I can't go back and read the first draft. It's just, they're too brutal. So, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we have like thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. It's like all we do. It's not going to happen unless I start getting paid to do this. Yes, I do this without getting paid for it. I should probably have my head examined. But if you think that's scary, consider this. The unedited version of Greenville High, which is the first Darklight novel, totaled over 455 pages. Ghosts in Grimdark was 450 pages, matching that of From Death to Dawn, and When Thunder Follows topped them all at a whopping 494 pages. That's font 10, single-spaced, by the way. And the final novels that are posted are barely half this length. I think the longest one we have is like 320, 350. The one that was written between Darklight 3 and Darklight 4, which you may or may not hear about in the distant future, because I do plan to eventually post that as well. Personally, I think it's one of the best pieces we've ever written. And it is a standalone book. It's a single standalone novel. However, it tops about 700 pages, and I just don't got the time for that. So, in terms of where the rest of the Darklight went, most of it was cut for either redundancy, such as, like, Vance and Rain arguing the same conversation over and over and over again, and either way, there's a lot more to it than simply, correcting the grammar, and I'm horrible at grammar, and I know this, and I've tried, it just doesn't work, but back to my main point there is that over 150 pages were actually removed from Ghosts in Grimdark, the second in the Darklight series, during a segment in which Janny and Rain actually encounter and fight an entity that's similar to Jack Frost. Now, it's a really cool segment, but unfortunately, there was a plot hole that it never got resolved. It was like, they encounter this entity, a whole bunch of shit happens, and then it just disappears and is never heard from again. And rather than take the time to kind of go back and try and work with it and make it work, we just were like, all right, let's just pull it. So a lot of that was removed entirely. And on a final note, some of the musical sequences that took place during the high school dance segments in the first book, Greenville High, were actually fully choreographed. I had done a full choreography for the characters in line with those songs, so a lot of that was actually removed for time as well. And those are a couple of interesting extras that I can think of off the top of my head in regards to Darklight. If I can come up with any more between now and whenever I have some more free time, it's like 3 years from now, I'll make another one of these, so catch you later.